Hello friends, I'll give a tour of our white sapote collection now, or for my friend Joe, it's called Casimiroa edulis. There's a lot of different fruits that are given the name sapote, and maybe some inappropriately, so I don't get too hung up on it. This fruit has been pretty widely known as white sapote, and I just mostly use that name. This variety in front of us isn't one of my favorite varieties, mostly because it produces a lot of small fruit, but it produces some good sized fruit too. It's called Fiesta, and until recently it had some clusters of grape size, not grape, it's smaller than or larger than grape, but maybe 1.5 inch long sized fruit. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna, and I've eaten the fruit. Still tastes fine, but it's very small and 75% seed, so I get rid of it. White sapote do have usually 1 to 5 seeds in them. Sometimes it'll have some unfilled seeds, so they're just like little slivers of hard seed coat inside of them. The seeds are fairly large, so the seed might make up, I would guess, 20 to 40% of the total mass of the fruit at times. On this same tree here, and I don't remember all the varieties, I do have a map there. This same tree here has grafted onto it Redlands, which is a variety from Redlands, Florida, and it produces some nice fruit on it. And I had done some top working here that unfortunately was not successful. All this new growth is as a result of that top working. Actually, what I was trying to graft onto it is some Casimiroa tetrameria, a related species, also called the woolly sapote, and I'd gotten these from my friend Jack, and I've tried that before. On one of my potted trees, I did get one of them to grow, it looks like, but I'm not counting on that until it gets quite a bit larger. Here in front of me is Leroy, which is quite tall and very little fruit on it. There's some fruit on it, but not much, which is kind of surprising. It's a good variety, because right over here is on a tree that I've got about 6 varieties. All of these fruits here are Leroy, and I don't really know why this is setting fruit this year and not that taller tree. I'm not going to go through all the varieties. This tree has quite a few varieties grafted onto it. I've got some tall redwood trees here, and I planted my white sapote too close together for sure. When I planted them in 2008, this tree where I'm standing right next to right now was the first tree I planted in 2008. I thought I was going to have to cover these every winter to protect them from cold, but I've never done any sort of protection at all for them. They've done very well here. Some winter, I know we got down to 24 degrees, and I just saw minimal damage on the new growth. It's getting a bit late. Hopefully this comes out okay here, but this isn't the ideal climate for them. They would like a warmer climate. I'm in USDA Zone 9B and Sunset Zone 14. But we get flowers, even forming now, and here's some little fruits. If we have a cold winter, we'll lose those, but some years we pick some fruit in March, April, so forth. Here's a bunch more flowers. So in a milder climate like San Diego County, especially I know up in the Rainbow, Fallbrook area, they do very well. And I know my first fresh ripe white sapote off of a tree was at Ben Poirier's place in Fallbrook in December of 2007, and it was just delicious. I was my friend Brian Bruner from Puerto Rico at the time, and he commented how my eyes bulged or whatever at the fruit, but it was really delicious fruit, and so I've been in love with it ever since. On this tree here, I know I've got rainbow growing here. I don't see any fruit, but I think, oh, there's some rainbow fruit right here. Let's just take a quick look. See, they're growing away from the redwoods here. It's too crowded. I have planted about 10 other trees more recently in the last few years out in the open more, where they have more exposure to sun, also more risk to freezing, but I'm willing to take the chance. And here, I forget what variety this is now. Is this, in fact, I think that this is, well, I'm not sure right now. Let me think about that some. I farm chestnuts at my farm, and this variety right here is called chestnut, and it's too crowded in here. It doesn't get a good chance here. I need to propagate this again. I just picked it more from the name. Here's a banana. I usually have bananas in here, and I've cut them down, but they grow back. I need to actually cut them out. This might be Malibu number 3 or Walton. I forget which. I've got both of those here. This is weeping over from the other tree. You know, they do have a tendency to grow upright, but when they get enough weight, they'll bend over. Here is let's see, where's it at here? Now, you might wonder what happened. Why do my leaves I got rust on my leaves, but it's not a rust bacteria disease. I have well water that has a lot of iron in it, and here, about a week ago, I came out here. My worker had put the sprinkler on, and the sprinkler had been running for over 24 hours out here, and this is iron rust on my leaves. It was just it didn't cause any harm, but this is Subel. By the way, that other variety, I think that has a heavy crop on it. I think that is Vernon, and both Vernon and Subel are available from, you know, some of the big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's that get supplied by Laverne Nursery. Subel has a woolly leaf. It's fuzzy on the underside, so it's thought it might be a hybrid between Tetrameria and edulis. There's some debate on this. I think it's a good variety, but it might be more susceptible to scale, according to my friend Tom Addison. But I've never had any issues with scale on my white sapote, so it's not anything I'm concerned with. Again, you can see the rust on the leaves. The sprinkler was behind me, and it was hitting this part of the tree. They can get pretty tall. My tallest there is maybe about 18 feet tall, and I've topped them, but they just grow right back sometimes. Some varieties don't seem to grow as much. This is lemon golden, a very good variety. Some people have said that it was slow to bear, but mine fruited for me 3 years after I grafted it. And nice sized fruit. It's an excellent tasting variety. Lots of fruit. One thing that is interesting about this is it can be ever-bearing in some climates, but my interest in growing this fruit led me to meet with Bob Chambers. In fact, 1 year, a group of friends, California rare fruit grower friends, we went down to Bob Chambers groves down in the Fallbrook area, and we met him. I forget, it was his birthday that year. We met him. It was on his birthday, and he was still getting around pretty well. He didn't follow us everywhere, but my friend Jack Sword, Robert, and John Valenzuela, and Bob down in San Diego. We met there. We collected scions, and we cleaned up some of the invasive wild trees that were growing around there, and just cleaning some trees up because some of the trees were being encroached upon. And when we visited with Bob, we asked what got him interested in white sapote, Casimiroa edulis again. He said that he read that it produced more calories per acre than any other fruit crop in the world. So, and I think that's quite possible. At one point in my early research back in 2007 or so, I read a report of where someone in northern San Diego County had collected all the fruit from one tree in 1 year, and it totaled 6,000 pounds, which is a lot of fruit. And at the same time, someone else said that some Australian report reported that someone had collected 3,000 kilos of fruit from one tree, which is even more. That's 6,600 pounds. And I see that's quite possible. Some of the big trees that Bob Chambers grows, and Bob has passed on, by the way, a few years ago. Some of those trees I would guess were 30 feet tall and big, huge trunks. But a lot of those fruit end up coming crashing to the ground. By the way, here's one of the Fiesta clusters of small fruit that I saw. But it's, you can't really harvest and salvage all of the fruit on such a large tree because it comes to the ground and gets bruised and smashed. It's not all practical to grow such huge trees. But it gives you just an idea of the potential. But even from this tree in a crowded area, I'm getting a lot of fruit. And it's very delicious. It's hard to explain. Some people give different, for instance, my friend Mark Lee that introduced Leroy to me said it tastes like butterscotch, I guess. And I guess I could see that. Some of them I would say is a blend of mango and banana, a lemon, like lemon gold, I think has some lemon taste to it. The skins, I usually peel them off, but most varieties, the skins are very edible. I just enjoy it more without. So it just gives you an idea of some of the trees we have here at our place, and I have more younger ones. These have been cut back at various times, but I mostly just let them go now, and I'm starting trees in more of an open space to where I can get to them with a ladder easier and pick fruit and so forth. So I'll include some still photos of some ripe fruit I've picked previously, and then I'll also show some trees that we're grafting over the last couple of days. Okay, many people know that I do propagate a lot of figs, but even though I've had the whitesapote.com website, I haven't sold white sapote trees previously, just haven't had time to deal with that. But I do have a worker on the farm this year that has nursery experience. I've got more of an effort going on to propagate more things to make them available. And here are some white sapote trees that we grafted yesterday and today, and we've got some more that we're working on. We're just doing this when we have time in between some other projects here. And I've grafted these to 3 or 4 different varieties here. I've got, you said, quite a few varieties, but I'm just gonna graft some of these, and I have maybe 17 or so trees ready for grafting now. And here's ones that we have finished already. Okay, here are some more that'll be grafted. And these are a little bit smaller than the ones I've grafted so far. Some of them are bigger. This one here is one, so I've just cut it. Here's a sign prepared. It was already wrapped on the top with parafilm, but I've cut both sides at a wedge shape. Some people call this a wedge graft. I call it a cleft graft. It's a pretty well accepted name for this graft. So let me stop here and place it and take another clip here after it's been put in place. So here the graft is put in place now. You can see the cambium layer lines up only on the right hand side because the sign is narrower than the rootstock. One thing that I've done typically is to place this, you know, I could pick from either side. I picked this side because there's a bud here and I want this bud to grow first. So I line up the cambium layer on that side below that bud, the lowest bud. So now I'll wrap it with a rubber band and with another layer of parafilm around the graft union to seal that, and then we'll be done. So here's the completed graft now. The rubber band has been placed around it to hold it together tightly and then wrapped with parafilm. There's no further maintenance required of this graft other than just some occasional watering until it gets established and planted in the ground by somebody. But this rubber band and parafilm, they break down with sunlight and heat, and that we don't need to be cutting them off or anything like that. Just leave it alone. Thanks for watching.